The St. Louis Blues sent out 2 offer sheets to 2 players on the Edmonton Oilers, and I really think the Blues will only be receiving 1. I'll tell you why coming up here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk about the 2 offer sheets that the St. Louis Blues sent out to Broberg and Holloway. I'm going to talk about who I think the Blues are actually going to get. I'm also going to talk about the elephant in the room when I said that I felt like the Blues were in desperation mode. Did I actually mean that word? No, I think I said it and there's logic behind why I said it, but I do want to address it because I do care about this team. And of course, my favorite Friday segment, Are We Feeling Blue? It's not Friday without Are We Feeling Blue? So we do have a lot to discuss. I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs are winding down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I hope everybody is having a happy Friday. I know this has been an insane week if you're a St. Louis Blues fan, and if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan. I guess if you're a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, you just got swapped draft picks, so I guess it's not too hectic. I mean, you did get Cody Glass, which is kind of cool. But I definitely want to talk about these offer sheets between Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. And let's discuss what this exactly means. This all went down early Tuesday morning, and the Blues sent out 2 offer sheets to those 2 respective players. So what that means is the Oilers have until this upcoming Tuesday to match the offers. If not, both players will be signed with the St. Louis Blues, okay? So that date, by the way, is August 20th, this upcoming Tuesday, in case you wanted a date to be put on it. So let's go talk about Philip Broberg. I do think he is the player that the Blues are going to receive, and I will explain why. So this contract, as excited as I am about and again, I am excited, but I am realistic. And as excited as I am, realistically, this contract, I'm going to be honest, it kind of sucks, okay? Because for 2 years, it is $9.16 million. And if you break that down, it's $4.58 million average annual value. That is insane to me. So that essentially just blows my mind. And then you have Holloway's contract, which is 2 years for $4.58 million. And then it's $2.9 million annual average annual value. So essentially speaking, both of these are the max of what they were able to give Edmonton. So for instance, for Broberg's, they were able to give Edmonton a 2nd round pick as compensation. And then for Holloway's, they were able to give a 3rd round pick, which is why they did swap with the Pittsburgh Penguins. As good as a player as Philip Broberg is, and he is, and there's no denying that, I think over $9 million over the course of 2 years is insane for a guy that's only played 80-some games. I understand that he was drafted in the 1st round, and I understand the talent that he has on defense, but let's be honest for a second. That is a lot of money to spend. A lot. Again, I understand why the Blues are kind of doing what they're doing. I mean, if you think about the Blues' blue line right now, right? Torrey Krug, it's very unfortunate what happened with him with arthritis and the potential, which is it's kind of, I don't know anything yet, but I'm just saying potentially he could be out for the entire season because right now he is out indefinitely. I know that he's doing the rehab, but if he needs surgery, he is out indefinitely. You cannot rely on Colton Parayko forever. And he also isn't the only guy that needs to hold his own on D. And the thing is, when you look at our younger players on defense, I really like Matthew Kessel, and I see a lot of growth within him. And I am so excited to see the kind of player he becomes. Honestly, I am so impressed by what I've seen. You have Scott Perunovich, who signed another year. And again, I like Perunovich, but it's one of those things where you would have them on the third pair. And then, of course, my boy Tyler Tucker, one of the hardest working players. I watched him a lot with the T-Birds. I'm a huge T-Birds fan, so watch him a lot there. But the point that I am trying to make is they kind of need somebody to elevate this defense. And I feel like Broberg would do that. I just think for the money, and if we're being completely realistic right now, it is just a lot of money for a young player that we don't know much about. Yes, we know what he can bring. Yes, we have seen him in the playoffs. And I think that's awesome. Don't get me wrong. However, I still feel like we are overpaying. But I guess that's what you have to do in a sense. I don't know. I feel like for Edmonton, and I know this has been a crazy week for you Oilers fans if you're watching, I would be confused on what they're going to do. I mean, realistically, and this is why I think the Blues are only going to be receiving Philip Broberg. I don't know how they're going to have money, honestly, for both of them. I think that there is a strong possibility that Evander Kane will be on LTIR, which we've seen a lot with the Golden Knights. We see that with, the Lightning. We've seen that with teams around the National Hockey League, and it's not a bad idea at this point if you're Edmonton. And again, I am a Blues podcast, but I can look at this a little bit objectively and say, okay, well, if you're the Oilers, could you really afford both of these players? I don't know. Like, that's like the thing. And Broberg, he does have so much value. But again, it's value that we have kind of yet to see. And I know we saw it in games that he's played, and I'm not dismissing that. I'm just saying for the amount of money, have you really seen the value that he can bring? And I want so badly to say, you know what, this is awesome. And it is awesome, right? And I'm not denying that. It's just a little bit, cloudy in a sense when it comes to the money for the St. Louis Blues. And of course, you have to think about the Edmonton Oilers and how they're going to be able to match this. There was reports today, by the way, that essentially there has been nothing on the Oilers side yet, and they're taking their time. By the way, this is how rare offer sheets are. These offer sheets are the 11th and 12th offer sheets given since 1998. So we haven't had any offer sheets since then. I mean, we've had them since then, but not a lot since then is what I'm trying to say. And I just think that is actually like insanity. Again, it just goes to show that this is something that Doug Armstrong is doing, and, he's not afraid to do it. But it is just a lot of money that you would pay for Broberg. And I think that, from what I've seen from Edmonton fans, a lot of them can kind of accept the fact that he might be gone just because of how much money it is. But a double offer sheet, like, that is actually insane. And, as I said, both of these players were selected in the first round, and they can't even get a first rounder for compensation. So it is just one of those things where it is a big, big deal right now. And Holloway, too, showed a lot of potential, especially in the playoffs. And I like that a lot in him. Confident on the ice, really strong skater. And I want Holloway. I am not saying in any shape or form that I don't want Holloway. I do want him. However, at the same time, again, I am being realistic. If Edmonton is going to save one player, wouldn't they save the one player that they could kind of, afford? And again, I'm not trying to, be negative. I'm just being very realistic about this. It's a good situation, though, to be excited about because it does mess with Edmonton in a sense. So it is positive, but I also wanted to be super realistic about the fact that the money thing is still kind of like a yikes when it comes to Broberg. Holloway is 100%. I think that's what he should be getting paid, but Broberg's is kind of like, whoa, that's some big money for not even 100 games played in the NHL. But we'll see what happens. As I said, Edmonton has until Tuesday to make a decision. So excited for all the drama. It's time to talk to you about FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much, and I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want, and all I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster or bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So I want to talk to you about some Major League Baseball because I saw something today on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, the Cards have their home series against those LA Dodgers, 3-game series starting tonight at 7:15. And they said, if the Cardinals win and they sweep the Dodgers essentially in all three of these games, they will give somebody a City Connect jersey. So I thought about it. If you really think that can happen, I don't know if that can happen, but if you do think that can happen, put it on your FanDuel account and let's go see how much that parlay would be. I think that's actually insane. But I saw that tweet and I was like, well, now that it's kind of put out there, I have to say something. I don't think it's going to happen. JD would have a blast if that happened from Locked On Cardinals. Okay. I need to talk to you. I said some things on my crossover episode about how I felt like this was a desperation move made by Doug Armstrong, and I got a lot of heat for it, to be honest, as I should. Okay. You know what? I said something. I said a word, that desperation mode. I guess 2 words that was taken really out of context from how I truly felt about the situation. Let me explain. St. Louis, first off, if you were listening right now and you heard that and you said, okay, this girl's a moron, I get it. Okay. Valid. I love my Blues. I have my Blues, one of my Blues tank tops that just came in on. Like, I truly do love my Blues. When I said that, this is what I meant. And please just hear me out before you come to conclusions. Doug Armstrong, let's admit it, he didn't do much this past season when it came to the trade deadline and last offseason. This offseason, we saw him make some moves and we added some more depth piece players, which I am super excited about, like Foxa, Studer, Joseph, Texier. Like, I am excited about these players. Don't get me wrong. But was that enough? Would you have truly been happy if that was all that he did going into this upcoming season? The Blues have now missed the playoffs for 2 consecutive seasons. I mean, last season, they were the best-worst team. That's not good enough, okay? We all know what's going to happen with Steen taking over in a couple seasons, 2 seasons from now. And the clock is ticking. And I guess using the word desperation mode makes it sound a lot worse than how I was truly trying to portray how I felt. And if that upset you, I do apologize. I do. What I was trying to explain is this. It's simple. I respect Doug Armstrong, and I've come on here and I've admitted when I've been wrong about him. I can admit if I say something on this podcast that I can look back and listen and say, you know what, I don't really agree with what I said. It's not how I truly felt and meant about a situation. Looking back and knowing how I feel about the situation, what I was trying to express is this. Doug has 2 seasons left. He got us, the St. Louis Blues, the Stanley Cup, which is huge, okay? He has done a lot of good for this organization, and he is forever a legend to me. Seeing all this negativity towards Doug Armstrong, he hasn't done enough, and I kind of felt like this was his big, you know what, bleep you, watch me do something that barely is even done, and we can acquire some really strong athletes. I don't think Doug Armstrong is desperate. I don't think the St. Louis Blues are desperate. And that wording that I used, it was wrong, okay? I think that he is up to something. He has something in his sleeve, and he's basically just saying, you know what, I'm going to get this team back on track. I'm going to get this team back to the playoffs. I think that is his goal, as it's every GM's goal to have your teams in the playoffs. But I think Doug Armstrong knows that he has 2 seasons to make a final impact. So, yeah, that phrasing was not the phrasing I would use again. And I have nothing but respect for any staff member, any manager, any coach. I don't think that phrasing was intended for me to be that insensitive, right? I just think that saying that I was trying to express what I just explained, I think that he is in a position where he does want to show the NHL, the doubters, you know what? I am a very capable and good GM. Watch me. And he definitely did that. I mean, every single person in the NHL, no matter what team it is talking about what the Blues did. I'm seeing articles by every single team's reporter in the NHL about offer sheets. And this even overshadowed Austin Matthews becoming the 26th captain for the Toronto Maple Leafs. This situation has taken the NHL by storm. And I don't think the Blues looked desperate. I think they look smart. I think they look, honestly, fabulous. And I just wanted to address that because I am sometimes a little bit harder on this team. As we know, I don't live in the market, right? And I've talked about that. And I think that for me, sometimes, again, not an excuse, but I think for me, sometimes I see things a little bit differently. And it was bad wording. I love the Blues and I want them to be so badly in the playoffs. That's why I think having Broberg on the team will be so beneficial. You know, I think about what I want the Blues to improve on. And, you know, their power play. I mean, he could help with that. I mean, there are so many things that he can do. And potentially getting Holloway, that would be huge. I mean, if the Blues were able to make out with both of these players, it would be an A++ to me, besides the insane amount of money that they would be paying for a Broberg. But again, I wouldn't be upset. It's just a little bit of, well, that money situation kind of sucks. But I would be excited about the possibilities with both of these players on the St. Louis Blues. I think sometimes things get taken out of context. I do. And I think that, you know, owning up and saying, you know what, my wording wasn't the best. I have read so much about these offer sheets to the point where I am telling people that I have just met, hey, I want to tell you something about the St. Louis Blues. Like, it has been consuming my mind because it is so insane to me how little offer sheets have been handed out in the NHL. And the fact that the St. Louis Blues did a double offer sheet to one of the best teams this past season within the Edmonton Oilers is actually insane. I love that these players are in their young 20s. I think that there is so much time for both of these players, if we do get both, you know, theoretically, to really grow with this organization. I would 100% expect that they play as well as they did with Edmonton, for them to get extensions. Like, the whole thing that I am trying to say is that this is really good for the Blues' future. And I think that's why it's so exciting. Doug is a very smart man. You know, I think about the time when Pat Maroon called him to sign him for that 1 year. Now Patty Maroon is with the Blackhawks, so that kind of sucks. But I think that, you know, he is respected tremendously around the NHL. And this is a veteran GM move. This is the move that just honestly goes to show how lucky we are in St. Louis to have Doug Armstrong. And I've talked about this. I am hard on this team because I care about this team. I want this team so badly to be in the playoffs. I want us here in St. Louis to be a cup contending team again. I think what we do with our community, with Blues and Brews, I think that we do a lot here in St. Louis. And even for the fans that don't live in the market of St. Louis, but live in other, you know, states, even countries that I've met, feel so close to everybody that actually lives in St. Louis because of how well the fan engagement is. I know personally I can attest to that one. So again, I hope that clarified a lot of things. And again, I do apologize for using that phrase desperation mode. If I ever say anything again where you're kind of like, what is she saying? Let me know and I will address it, because in my head it makes sense, but hey, I'm on a podcast, right? Like, it may not make sense to you. And that is completely valid. But you know what else is valid? And I want to tell you about my friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only. Available to U.S. customers. It is my favorite Friday segment, and it is called Are We Feeling Blue? Where I ask you, was this a good week or a bad week for the St. Louis Blues? I ask you this because sometimes the weeks are a little bit indifferent, but I think for this week, I have a really good understanding. So I said, was this a good week for the Blues on Twitter at Locked On Blues? 59% of you say yes, 4.3% of you say no, 23% of you said yes, but capitalized, and then 12% of you said indifferent. I think this was a very good week for the St. Louis Blues, so I would say yes. Maybe not capitalize yes, because that's a little aggressive, but I can understand the indifferent. I think that, again, this offer sheet situation is what we're talking about this week, right? We're not talking about the behind the scenes of Jordan Binnington's, promo video. We're talking about what happened. I think that the reason why some people might be indifferent is just because of how much money it is for Broberg, and I can understand that. Nothing is finalized yet, so I can understand how it's kind of like, well, you know what? Hell, these offer sheets are not finalized. We still have until Tuesday, and that is fine with me. I understand where you're coming on that one. I do think this was a good week, though, and I am excited about, what's going to happen next week. I also want to congratulate the Oscar Sundquist and his wife. They got married. So congratulations to both of you. That is awesome to see. And for you, St. Louis, I will talk to you as always coming up on Monday. If there is something that becomes like an emergency, if the Oilers end up doing something, I will do an emergency episode. But until then, have a great weekend. Enjoy some Cardinals-Dodgers baseball. And like always, let's go Blues.